This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so so let me start this training. So basically, it's a before going to the Red Hat Linux thing. So we have to know what exactly is Unix. In Unix is an like a kernel-based operating system, which is developed on basis of a kernel. It can perform multiple tasks at a single point of time, and multiple users can log in to the server and perform multiple tasks. And what is the exact use of kernel is like kernel will act as a bridge between the hardware resources and the user interface. I mean to say, like, suppose if you are typing some command, so how it will reach to the hardware? Yeah, because any command, any process that you are running, any script or anything you are running on top of operating system, so you need to have a certain amount of CPU and memory to be used for that process or that or for that application or for the command. So what the kernel will do exactly here is whenever you type a command or execute any kind of script or run any kind of application, it will make sure that the command or the application, anything uh, to get the hardware and CPU resources required to get that computed. So that is the main purpose of the kernel here. So based on these kernel-based operating systems, there are different kinds of OS developed. Those are Solaris, HP Unix, Linux, and AX. So these all operating systems are developed on basis of a kernel. So basically, in Unix operating system, kernel plays a major role. So it acts, as I said, it acts as a bridge between your hardware resources and the user interface. So whatever the commands you are using, so obviously to get that computed, you may require some hardware resources like CPU, memory, and IO stats. I mean, just IO, disk
Mhm.
IO. Suppose if you are doing some kind of data operation, so it has to write the data into the data. If you want to do some kind of read operations, it has to read the data from the disk. So these kind of IO operations, input out operations, and something related to network operations, everything will be handled by the kernel. So basically, Unix operating system is a kernel-based operating system. Coming to the next slide. So what is Linux? So as I said, Unix, I mean, all these flavors which are built on top of a kernel or Unix-based operating systems. So Linux is one of that. So basically, initially, this Linux operating system, it was built on x86 architecture, Intel x86 architecture processor. And if you want to know more about these Unix operating systems like Solaris or HPUX and AX, AX is an IBM developed operating system. HP Unix is developed by the HP company. It runs on the PA RISC processor. It has they have their own processor, PA RISC processor and Intel processor. So their operating system can run both on ParaRISC processor and Intel processor. When you coming to Solaris, that is developed by Sun Microsystems. Now it is acquired by Oracle. So now it is called as Oracle Solaris. So Solaris, they designed their own operating system based on kernel. So it's also one of the Unix operating systems. So that runs on a Spark architecture. They have their own CPU design, which is called as Spark, and x86 as well. So they have two versions. One is for Spark version, and one is for x86 version. So this is the major things. Apart from this, we have Linux also developed using the kernel-based operating system. So Linux is a kind of free source. Earlier, it was an open free source. So later on, depending on the usage and its popularity, they made commercial versions as well. So mostly used commercial versions in Linux, or you can see Red Hat and SUSE. These are the commonly used in the commercial environments.
Mhm.
So basically, in most of the companies, you may having if they are running huge servers, they'll be either using Red Hat Linux or SUSE Linux, most probably. So in Linux, we have many distributions. Again, in Linux, there are many. It's as it's open source. Many people have tried to develop their own what do you say, their own kind of version of operating systems. So there are many distributions available in the market. When you come to the Linux, these are Red Hat Linux, CentOS, Oracle Linux, Ubuntu, SUSE, Debian, and there are many more. But these are the main uh, popular Linux operating systems that are available in the market. Mhm. Go to the next slide. So, as I said, Linux is what do you say? It's based upon kernel. So this diagram will show you how exactly the flow will work. So suppose as a user you are typing some command on top of a server. So how it will get interrupted? So for that you need a shell. Shell in the sense the command which you are typing. Suppose you are typing like copy command cp or move command mv, or you are doing some listing files ls. This kind of commands you are typing it. So what will the shell do is like it will interpret your command and convert into the thing which is readable by kernel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So once a kernel gets a command which you're typing, so it will again assign hardware resources. Hardware, it will go to the hardware and it will assign memory to compute that command which you are running. So whatever you are running, it requires some CPU and process, correct? Like in your laptop, suppose if you are playing some kind of video, at the back end it uses memory and CPU to run that video, correct? The same way here. So whenever you are typing a command, it requires some kind of hardware resources to get computed. That is what it's doing. The kernel does the same way. It bridges a gap between the hardware, because whatever that command you are typing, hardware doesn't know how to compute it. So kernel in between, it will mediate. It acts as a mediator.
Mm-hmm.
And coming to this shell, what exactly use of the shell? Shell is like it converts whatever the things you are typing into binaries, IO formats, because these computers will understand only binary format, ones and zeros. It doesn't understand anything apart from that. So what does the shell does is whatever the command you are typing, it will break down your command into those ones and zeros. It will pass on to the kernel. Kernel will understand, okay, this guy is running this command, user is running this command. I have to execute this. So it requires some kind of CPU and memory resources. So it will interact with hardware. It will compute that, and you will get the result. This is how the flow works. So that is what it's like. At the outer level, it's user running some command on the shell. On shell it's going to kernel will go to hardware. So it will come back. You can see it's a bidirectional. Once it is executed, the output will be sent back to shell. I mean to say, you can see the output on the screen. That is
Can,
how
can
it works.
can you please
Yeah.
just repeat about shell once?
Yeah, shell is like an, what do you say, it's like an interpreter. Suppose if you're typing some command, the server doesn't know what you're typing, because you will be typing in a what do you say, English language, like
Mm-hmm.
cd or move command mv or listing ls. There are some set of commands in operating systems, correct? So
Mm-hmm.
what shell does is it will interpret your command, whatever you're typing, right? So it will interpret, it will connect to the binaries with respect to the command which you are typing. It will interpret what you are typing, what you are looking for, and it will
Oh,
convert that and it will pass on to kernel. Okay, this user is looking for listing ls. So he typed the command ls. So according to that, you list out. Kernel will take care of that thing.
okay.
Yeah. Is it clear, or you have any
Yeah,
more doubt on this?
it is good. So once it
Yeah.
converts the binary into binaries, it
Yeah.
will pass on to kernel and kernel will
Yeah.
take care, right?
Yes, kernel will take care.
Okay.
See, like I said, shell is an user interface to access OS services. It's like an interface. I mean, without shell, we can't do anything. By default, every Linux and Unix operating systems, they will have some kind of default shell. There
Mm-hmm.
are some bash shell, ksh, tcsh, sh, or various shells that are available. You can use
Okay.
any one of the shell that acts as an interpreter. So whatever command you are typing it, they will convert and interpret what you are looking for, and it will pass on to kernel. That is how it works.
Okay.
Yeah. Hope this is clear, correct?
Yeah, it is clear. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Next slide, please. So basically, when you are coming to the Linux administration part, Red Hat, either it's a Red Hat Linux or whatever it is, mainly most of the Unix operating systems, they have some set of common operations, like file system management, like user and group access administrations, system performance monitorings, and then you have kernel upgrades to do, and we have these OS troubleshooting issues. When I'm talking about OS troubleshooting issues, it's like something like sometimes you may face performance issues with OS. like sometimes the CPU and memory may spike up to 100%. So you have to log into server and check it out why it's taking, which application is taking those kind of CPU and memory. Is it a database or it's a Java-based application? It's a WebLogic, because anything can run on the server. They can make the server as a database server or WebLogic application server, or they can run simple some HTTP or whatever it is. So whenever we are coming to OS troubleshooting issues, there are many issues which cause trouble to OS. Suppose there is any file system gets corrupted, or is there any problem with the boot disk. So in OS trouble, there are multiple issues that can come for OS. So these are common for basic Unix administration part. So network management is like we have for laptop we will be having a single VLAN port, but for a server we have multiple Ethernet ports like VLAN ports. So we need to configure IPs for each and every port differently. So that is how network management will come. Again, we need to, what do you say, when speaking about network management, what we can do is we need to have firewall rules also in place. Firewall
Mm-hmm.
rules in the sense, suppose on the server only particular subnet of IPs can connect to the server.
Mm-hmm.
So those kind of IP wall rules, we call it as IP firewall, IP tables or firewall rules.
Okay.
So those rules can also be implemented. That comes on network management. And services configuration. Services configuration is like, suppose for any application, it has to run during the start of the server. If you reboot the server, it has to come up automatically. So you need to configure that service, saying that okay, at the boot time itself, you have to start it. So these are service configuration done. If you are
Oh.
taking about Windows, if you have on Windows laptop, you will be having that services file. You will disable and enable, correct? Some of the services, if you want to enable it or disable it. The same way, here also we'll configure services, telling the server that okay, don't start the service when you reboot it. Start this
Mm-hmm.
service, okay, when you reboot the server. If you reboot the server should come up automatically. So these are the services configuration that we do.
Yeah.
Basically, the all Linux operating systems will come with some default services like SSH, because SSH is required to connect to the server. Without that, you can't connect to server. So that is by default. It will be service will be coming with the operating systems.
Mm-hmm.
There are some default services with respect to file system. So without file system getting mounted, you can't connect to the server. So when you install an Linux OS, by default, some services will be configured in the OS image itself. Apart from that, we can configure services based on your requirements. With
Mm-hmm.
respect to application or your own services, you can configure based on your requirement. Is it clear?
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can you go to next slide, please? So here we are talking about basically these Linux file systems. So in Linux file system, all the file system, it starts with the root directory. I mean, it's a slash is a parent directory kind of thing in the Linux. So when you're trying to access any file, you have the path should be like slash abcd slash bcdf slash. I mean, one directory can have multiple subdirectories.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a tree kind of structure, inverted tree kind of structure. So root will be the parent directory. Under that, it may be having number of files or number of subdirectories.
Mm-hmm.
Again, in those subdirectories, you can have multiple subdirectories.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an hierarchy kind of thing. So if you want to, it's like suppose if you are going to um some hotel or park, so you have to take the route, correct? You have to follow the route. So in the Linux also, if you want to access any file in some location, you have to follow the path from root directory. So initially you have to come to root will the parent directory for all the directories in Linux.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to start with slash, and then you have to give the path name. Like multiple, it can go up to multiple directories where your file is located.
Yeah.
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 So you can access the file and directories using some relative path and absolute paths. relative path in sense, it's a kind of, you need to give the complete path. Suppose if you know the location of the file, you can change it to the directory cd slash, and then you have to give the complete path slash abc slash efgh slash, and then go to the file. Coming to the absolute path, suppose you are already in some directory, so you know the file is in within the directory itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you can access simply using cat command or ls and then file name. That is called as absolute path. There, if you are already into the directory, you should. There is no need for you to give the complete path to go into that.
Yeah.
So if you are not into the directory already, then you have to give the full path.
Okay, but absolute path is just for accessing the files, right? Not for the folders.
I mean to say absolute path, you can cd to the directories as well. So suppose if you are in directory some ABC, so inside that there are some directories like BCD. Again BCD there is EFGH. So you can give like CD slash BCG slash EFG. You cannot. There is no need to give complete slash ABC slash EBH slash GH and everything. Complete 3 directories. So
Okay.
go to the next slide. I will explain what exactly it is.
Okay.
Next slide, please. So here you can see, right, root is a parent directory slash root, okay, in the diagram. So under that you have multiple directories, etc, bin, usr, and dev. Suppose here if you want to go to the file under bin cc, okay, if you want to go to the file under bin cc, just you have to give cd slash bin slash cc. Cc is a file, so you have to go to cd slash bin and then access that file cat cc. Suppose if you want to go to root etc bin, so you have here multiple directories, correct? So then you have to give cd slash etc slash bin, and then you can access these files like cat or whatever you want to do, the perl, http, or http or php. Suppose you are already in etc directory, okay, if you give pwd present working directory, it will give the thing like
Sunil,
where it is.
he unable to listen. Pranay is unable to, not able to hear you. Pranay? Pranay?
I think he's not. He's there. I think he's not there.
1 minute, 1 minute. Pranay, can you join again? Pranay? I think he'll join back.
Okay,
Wait for 1 minute.
sure.
Yeah, I think he's joined. Yeah, Pranay?
Hey, Sunil. Sorry, I lost the audio connection. I just joined over the phone.
Okay, yeah. I'll continue. Okay, Sunil, please continue.
Okay, yeah, sure. So as I said, like we can use absolute path or relative path. So absolute path here, if you see in this picture, correct? So if you want to go to http.conf file, you have, if you want to go to http.conf file, if you want to read that file, you have to give like cat slash etc slash conf slash http.conf. That is called as what is a relative path, complete path. Suppose you are already in etc directory, okay. If you want to know which directory you are in, just give pwd, that is give as present working directory. Suppose if you are in already etc directory, so there is no need for you to give a complete path like cat slash etc slash conf slash http.conf. Instead of that, you can give simply cat conf slash http.conf, right? The path will become shorter if you're already into the directory.
Can you just repeat on the absolute path when we are in the etc?
If you are already in etc directory, right? So for accessing a file, you can simply give cat conf slash http.conf. No need to give complete slash etc slash conf slash http.conf.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah, but in the relative path, so when we are in the ET,
No, you can,
so
if you
can
are
you?
in etc, you can access using relative path as well. Then you have to give the complete structure from slash, like slash etc slash conf slash http.conf.
Okay,
It's a relative path. Hmm.
but relative path, whatever you said, like slash etc slash conf slash httpd.conf, that
Mhm.
one when we are in the root you are telling, or when we are in the etc folder also?
No, if you are, you need not be in the root. You might be any directory. So if you are in
Oh,
var, suppose if you are in USR, you want access http.conf file, then you can give cat slash etc. You have to give the full path,
okay, I
relative path.
understood. Yeah, yeah,
If you are already in etc, no need to give the complete path. Just cat conf slash http.conf.
yeah, understood.
So that is the difference between relative path and absolute path. Relative path is
Oh,
like giving the complete structure from hierarchy, starting from root directory and then the subdirectories, everything.
yeah,
Okay. So is it clear
sure.
on this
Understood.
path,
Yeah.
absolute and this one? Okay. So this is how the hierarchy will be. And for any Unix operating system, there are some default directories. As I said, like with the OS image, you will get some kind of default settings or default directories. This one is etc, bin, usr, dev, and we have one more directory var also. So these are main critical. So I only noted this one. So I will explain about each and every directory, what it holds exactly and everything. So
Oh,
under root, you can see etc, bin, usr, dev are the main files that are required for operating system to run. So
okay.
when you go to the dev is like devices directory. So what all holds in the dev instance? It holds the information about the devices that are attached to the server. Like suppose your server have some 500 hard GB disk. So the hard DB, OS has to know, right? Okay, there is something attached to the server where I look for the hard disk. So OS will look for hard disk in slash dev directory. Okay. Suppose any
Oh,
CD-ROM is connected to the server. So OS has to know where that CD-ROM is connected. So it will go into the dev directory, devices directory, and then it will search for the CD-ROM. So if you go
oh,
into dev directory and give ls, you can see number of devices, like what all the devices connect to the server, hard disk, and then CD-ROM or tape libraries. So all the devices that are connected with respect to IO will be in devices directory. So coming to bin directory, bin is like binaries. So binaries are required, right, for any OS to run. So it has some kind of OS binaries. So all those binaries will be stored in slash bin directory.
okay.
Okay. Then we have one more thing is slash lib. Lib is a library directories. I mean,
Oh,
the binaries for running the binaries, it requires some kind of set of libraries. So these are all inbuilt programs that will come with OS. So the
oh,
slash lib directory will hold the libraries required for the operating system.
okay.
And coming to etc, etc is like they call it as extra file system, but actually it holds the configuration files. Suppose for ssh to start, we need to have some configuration settings, correct? Okay. For ssh it has to have some kind of configuration file. So where to look for binaries and all those things will be there in the configuration file. Okay. So in that etc, it holds the configuration files required for the services to start. Suppose if you want to start the telnet or ssh or ftp or some other service, then the configuration files will be there in etc. So go into etc directory and look for respective configuration file. So all the configuration files which are required for the start of the OS or applications, that will be there in etc directory. Like you can see here http.conf. This http.conf is a configuration file required to start the HTTP service.
Okay.
So etc holds us all the configuration files.
Okay.
So these are the directories that are compulsory required for an OS to run. So all when you install an operating system like Linux, by default, these file systems will be created, and they have its own default configuration libraries and device files, whatever it will be there.
Okay. And where do we have the library directory that you were telling?
/lib, lib.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And USR is like it's a user file systems. Generally, if you suppose we will be creating users, right? We'll be adding users to the server to access the server.
Right.
There are multiple users. So multiple users, they can't share the same home directory. Like if I'm accessing server and you are accessing the server, so we can't share the same home directory. In a sense, each user should have its a default home directory, different directories. So my work will be different, your work will be different, so that it cannot merge at the same time. Correct. So to make it different, so each and every user will be having its own home directory. So that will be generally go to USR home, or we can make it any default path. It's not mandatory that it has to go to USR home. Okay. So it can be anything. We can make the mandatory path like /home also we can give. It's up to you where you want to store your files, whatever the WAP files you want to store. So you can store it anywhere on the server, but you have to give the path where you want to store while creating the users. Okay. So this is how it works. So any doubts in this kind of classification for file systems in OS?
No, it is clear.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I have prepared only this much of PPT. So if you want me to discuss more topics, I can discuss on this, Shiva.
Sunil is fine for today. Then
Yeah.
okay, we'll discuss more in the next coming sessions. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, that is fine. So
yeah.
Yeah, Pranay, if you got any questions till now we discussed.
This conference will now be recorded.